You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today's episode 227, The Secret Sauce of Your Business with Shayla Boyd-Gill. If you're a business owner who wants to improve your time management and elevate your productivity so you can maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to bringing this guest interview to you today because you get to meet our guest, Shayla. Shayla Boyd-Gill, the Luxe Your Business Mentor and creator of the LuxeSales System, is an extraordinary and proven business mentor and sales strategist who shows women entrepreneurs how to have it all: family, freedom, and affluence while doing what they love. She teaches her clients to restructure their businesses and lives by boosting their high-ticket sales so they can make more money in less time without a heavy client load. She juggles being an entrepreneur with being a wife of 25 years and a mom of 6 homeschooled children. In this episode, we are going to get to talk about the secret sauce of your business, which Shayla and I both agree, and you'll hear more about it in today's episode, that good strategy coupled with the mindset work is the secret sauce. I don't believe that you can achieve the great success you desire by just doing mindset work. I think you need to couple that with strategy. And I think you know that I certainly don't believe strategy alone is going to get you to where you want to go. So today, her and I are going to be chatting about how you can pivot your business model, raise your prices, maybe offer your services to higher end clients so that you don't have to work as hard over multiple clients to make the income you desire. Now, this is really important because I actually have this type of conversation with my private coaching clients often. Oftentimes, we really have to look at, what is your business model? Does your business model mean that you have to have a large team? Does it mean that to make the same amount of money, you have to work with far more clients, which means communication, onboarding clients, managing clients? Sometimes, not only are you charging less, but you're truly making less because you're building a business that consumes so much of your time. Whereas if you make a shift and level up your packaging, your offering, your value, you attract a higher end client. You could be reducing your stress, lessening the amount of help that you need so you get to work with a leaner team. There are so many benefits that Shayla and I are going to be diving into today. And my invitation for you is to listen to our conversation and see how this may overlay in your own business, how you can make these minor shifts over time compounded and perhaps change the trajectory of your business. Before we jump in and get to meet Shayla, I do want to invite you to check out my Leverage Lab program. My Leverage Lab program is coaching, training, and accountability for business owners who want to take back their lives and business. They do not want to live in the overwhelm and the chaos. They want to learn how to think like a business owner, how to lead their teams, how to lead themselves. If you are interested, I would love to support you inside my Leverage Lab program. You can learn more and join us by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/leverage lab. And now let's meet our guest and get to the straight talk. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk. Shayla, how are you?
I am amazing, Amber. How are you?
I'm really good, and I'm really looking forward to our chat today. I really was excited to see your, application come through for the podcast, and I did a little research on you, and it sounds like we should be talking all about CEO mindset with you today. And when I saw that that's something you specialize in, I get so excited because I actually don't think that is talked enough about in the business world. I think we have to have certain skills and experiences, and that's all relevant. But man, can we sabotage ourselves if we don't have the right mindset?
Every time. Right? Every single time. It doesn't matter how good you are. If that mindset piece is not where it needs to be, it can be an issue.
Yes. And I've also found that it's an issue that we're always working on. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You never master it. So I don't say CEO mastery, but it's something that we're continuously growing in.
Yes. All right. Well, let's just start off with, how do you describe or define CEO mindset?
CEO mindset is literally being open. It's all about being open to possibilities. You have to have a radical faith to be a CEO because number one, you're believing in yourself. No one else can believe in what you do, how you're going to grow. Your team can't believe in you if you don't believe in yourself. So it's really about being open and believing in possibilities.
Yeah. So how do you teach somebody or how do you mentor somebody to improve their CEO mindset? Where do you start with something like that?
So here's a secret. I never go in and say, I'm going to teach you about CEO mindset because no one wants to buy that.
Okay? Right. Exactly.
No one wants to buy it. So let's just tell the truth. People come to me and they're like, I want to improve my sales. I want to be able to have high ticket offers. I want to be able to work more productively, have a team that embraces me. Great. We can work on that. Then you add in the secret sauce underneath and say, okay, let's talk about how you function in your business.
Yeah.
And how you like to function in your business. And once they see that reflection, they can then see where they're lacking congruency. Something's not congruent. You say you want one thing, yet you're doing another thing. We need to really come back together and say, what's causing that? And oftentimes we're the cause.
Right. So you do specialize in high-end sales. That's your business, is teaching other business owners how to up-level their offers and their price points. And what are some of the common thoughts that are limiting us in being able to step into that? Because I think that anyone listening could be like, of course I want to raise my rates, but ... insert all the things. Right? Yeah.
So this is good because this works. This is a part of a CEO mindset. I call them 3 myths that we absolutely find ourselves dealing with. Number one, I need to be an authority in my industry. So oftentimes it's a waiting game. You'll find yourself waiting until someone gives you that magic flag and says, you're the authority. You're looking to this special coach, this special guru. You're looking at what person Z is doing, person B is doing, and you're saying, I'm not an authority. So I can't charge high ticket yet because I'm not the authority. The truth is, you've always been the authority. People are investing with you because they trust and believe in your brilliance. You do something that's transformational, you are an authority. So again, you have to give yourself that permission. You can't look outward for the permission. Number 2, a CEO mindset, no matter how you look at it, no one will ever pay me that rate. Meaning I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy enough. People don't pay people like this.
Right.
And the truth is, we've seen it. People do invest in this manner. Okay. So remember, we're using the word investment. People do invest in what they believe in and what they value. So as a CEO, you have to have the belief bigger than your team, bigger than your clients. If your belief is limited, you're going to attract what you worry about. So if you've ever heard the people say the thing you worry about the most is the thing that you will manifest.
Yes.
If we're saying no one will ever pay me this much, people don't have this much, when you're talking to people, you're having sales conversations, I can't afford it. I don't have it, because that's the energy that you've been focused on. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
And the third one is the CEO mindset of it takes too long to be able to sell high ticket, meaning that nurturing process is much longer than if I had this low ticket offer. And that's a myth. Because if you are speaking to the ideal client, if you have something that's valuable, not filled with crazy bonuses just to make it look valuable, but it's truly valuable, truly transformational, then it doesn't take a long time. You're actually going to free up your time as a CEO because you'll talk to fewer people. You're only going to talk to people that are ideally for your company. And therefore, you're going to close them at a rate that works for you. And it's not going to take up as much time. It's going to free you up to do the things that you're really brilliant at doing.
I love that. So those are 3 great myths, and I can resonate with all of those. And I can think of like examples throughout my, decade of being in business that I have run up against some of those thoughts. And when breaking through them, you kind of have to laugh like, oh, I thought everybody was going to say no. Or
we've all been there, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, and here's the truth. The amount of time, and you've heard people say the amount of time it takes to sell this lower ticket offer, it's the same amount of time it takes for the higher ticket offer as long as it's positioned properly.
Yeah, so, I actually wanted to deepen that third one because you are all talking about the time. And I actually find that to be so true. I actually find it true that it's easier for me to sell my higher ticket offer than it is my lower ticket offers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that
because
the irony
number one, you feel amazing about it. Mm-hmm. It's worth your time. Mm-hmm. Your lower ticket offer, we often package these lower ticket offers and put so much into the lower ticket offer because we don't believe in our value that now we have to spend more time with the client delivering this thing that we should have been taking out and charging a whole lot more for. So now you're bitter. You don't want to show up for the calls. You're attracting budget seekers, which isn't a problem. But if that's not your brand, there's a problem. And if you've gone into that place as a CEO and you're negotiating, you're bartering, it's typically the persons that you're negotiating with, you're downplaying your price point with, you're giving them a deal. Those are the people that want the most from you, take up the most of your time. And again, you find yourself saying, I knew I shouldn't have done it.
Every time.
The red flags were all over the place, right? And you're like, but I want to help the world. I want to make sure everyone can be a part of my program. You're not meant to have everyone in your program.
Yes.
There's enough of us for everyone.
I agree with that so much. Some of my own journey around the, money mindset, CEO mindset was that I had realized that, early in starting my business that I thought everybody saw money the same way I saw money. And that the way that I saw the world, like always looking for a deal and, like maybe being a little on the cheaper side. That was my reality when I first started my business. And so that experience of how I showed up in my normal life was a reflection of exactly what was happening in my business. And as I up-leveled and stopped looking for, the deal everywhere, I was like, look, when I value something, I'm not going to negotiate. I'm going to see that person's value. I'm going to see that product's value. And when I could do that and work through my own mindset of it, it was a game changer in my business. I was like, they'll either take it or they'll leave it. My job is just to show up my best and provide a lot of value.
That's an amazing point, okay? Because there are people that will say, just add another zero, just charge high ticket for it. But you're absolutely right. If your money mindset is skewed, if you have not dealt with yourself, no matter how lovely the offer is, people are not going to invest. So you're right. If you are saying, I want a $20,000 offer, but when you hear someone quote that to you, you say, oh my gosh, $20,000, I would never pay $20,000. But then you're going out to the world saying, I want $20,000 for this. What are you going to attract? You're going to attract a reflection of yourself.
Exactly.
They're going to be like, $20,000? What? I don't want that. And then you'll see them go to the next person and invest. This person changed my life. I was so afraid of investing this much, but it was the best investment ever. You're like, why? Because your energy is just a reflection. And it's so hard for us to receive that and acknowledge that that really is happening because we don't want to believe it.
Yes.
We don't want to believe that who we are, we show up a certain way. People, they get that energy from us. And so if it's an energy of desperation, I have to close the deal. It's the end of the month. You'll start seeing this time of the month, a lot of offers on social media because people are like, I didn't hit my numbers. And if you're showing up that way, it's just a number thing. I don't want to work with you.
So then that's the tie right there, is that when the mindset's not right, then you choose strategies that probably aren't the best strategies.
They are not congruent.
Right. One of the things that I tell my clients around, productivity, growing your business, there's lots of like technical strategies as there are with sales, right? In your business. And I say, I can fill up your toolbox, but if you never pull the tool out of your toolbox because your mindset's not right, it's not going to serve you well at all. So like, what are those, gaps or hesitations? And, it doesn't mean the strategy didn't work. Do you often find that people like to blame the strategy over the mindset and not realize it is a mindset issue?
Absolutely. This is when you see people buy course after course after course. They're like, we call it, one of my coaches called it course hopping. Okay. So you hop from one coach to another because they're the next best thing, but you never fully implemented the thing that you invested in before this. And so of course you're going to go and say, it didn't work. That doesn't work for me, or those things don't work for me. I'm always challenging my CEOs and saying, show me what you did previously, or what was that like when you first started working on that thing that you said it didn't work? How long did you work on it? You did it once. You don't have enough data to determine if something is working. If you did it one time, you ran an ad for 2 days or 1 week, you don't know if that ad is effective. There's not enough information.
Right.
You need to, as a CEO, you have to have the mindset to implement and to be patient. Now, you can definitely be smart. You can be strategic about it. So you can gradually increase investing in things, but you have to work something until you've exhausted it. And once you've exhausted it, then you can go back and decide, is this effective or is this not effective? If it's not effective, what's the lesson we're learning from this? What could we do differently? It's part of just like, as you're saying, productivity. If you give them the tool, how well did that tool work? How long did you use it?
Did you give it a shot, a real shot? Yeah.
Did you use it the way I told you to use it? Okay, right. It's like parenting. Did you do what I told you to do? Because we're all creative. So what will happen? We get a set of directions and we decide we're going to tweak it just a little bit because I don't like that part of it. But you did the tweaking before you tested it. So I like to tell my clients, imagine yourself baking a cake. You get a list of ingredients for that cake. Baking a cake is like science. It's chemistry. There are reactions that happen. But if you mess up 1 or 2 of those key ingredients, you're not going to get the result that you want. So we never tweak the cake recipe until we make it the first time and say, okay, it could have had a little bit more flavor, or it could have had a little bit less sugar. Then you can start tweaking it. But you had to test it first. Same thing with productivity, with being a CEO, running a business. You have to test things first before you start deciding to get creative. And I love creativity. So I'm talking to myself because I have to remind myself the same thing. Do it the right way first. Yeah. And then make it uniquely yours.
Yes. When you're talking, I'm thinking about the mindset of, trying things when they're not working over and over again. Like that's a huge mindset to like not get into the story, not first and foremost make it about yourself, your worth, your value, that how can you rebound when something's not working and say, this is just data. How do I tweak it? How do I come back quicker and faster and do that back and forth with, as you said, the tweaking, right? And do you have any stories or experiences around your clients like hitting a wall and then not picking themselves up and then learning the mindset of like, oh, this isn't about me, right? Like, and I can keep coming back and it could not work and it doesn't change my value.
Yeah, it's building your emotional muscle is what I like to tell my clients. We have to build the emotional muscle. We don't like rejection. We don't like failing. And so there have been cases where, for example, someone may be doing a webinar. You do the webinar, you don't get the number of people that opt in that you like, and then you get fewer of those people, and this is a perfect one, you get fewer of those people that actually show up live. And so now you're saying it didn't work. It wasn't effective. So if we go on that old theory of if you get 100 people that opt in, then you're actually going to get like a half to a third of those that may show up live. And you're sitting there like, where are the people? I thought I had all of these people that were going to be here. People will say, but I'm putting a webinar together and I'm doing it next week. So number one, did you give yourself enough time? We're looking at all of the things. Did we give ourselves enough time? Was there a big enough pool of people that we shared the opportunity with? Did you look at the number? You knew based on the number of people that opted in what the possibility could be. Now, if you exceeded that, great. But there was already the sign was there. So we're not in shock. The goal is do your best job with the number that you have. But the lesson that I'm teaching them is now that we know what that looks like with this number, can we do it differently with another number, either bigger, or are you willing to repeat the same event over and over again with a smaller audience until you reach the number of people that you desire? I personally have had to do that. I remember it was probably 2015, I believe. I was doing a webinar and I knew I was going to nail it. Because there is no way that I'm not going to get these people in here and sell this thing. I literally had 3 people that showed up live. I could have crawled under a rock and rotted right there, okay? Mm-hmm. But it was literally, I had to say to myself, someone said yes. Someone's looking for answers. Your job is to deliver. Your job is to do what you promised you would do. You know how many people would have canceled that event and said, I didn't meet the number. I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely.
I had to tell myself that's not an option. So I did it. And then I chose the route of doing it again. And my goal was, since you can't seem to get this big number when you need it, you're going to keep repeating it. I repeated it 6 times until I got it. And I ended up still getting the number I wanted, but I had to do it 6 different times. And each time I showed up like it was the best crowd ever. I still met my goal with my sales, but I had to be willing to show up and not let embarrassment and doubt get in the way of it. So it's always that question of what are you willing to do?
Right. And when it doesn't turn out exactly what you thought it was going to, can you still show up?
Can you get out of the way and still show up again?
Yeah.
Or will you, again, cancel it out of embarrassment because you want the stats that you're seeing online. You want what this person says, sold out, closed this many deals, had 1,000 people on there. Maybe that's not your path.
Right. Or maybe you don't know what their path was to get there.
Right. I'm like, you don't know the budget they had to get there. You don't know if it was ads. You don't know if they had a list, how long they've been growing that list. You don't know. Your audience may not be as curated as their audience. So that's why you have to understand and create your own path and decide to ride that train all the way until you figure it out. But most people are going to jump ship before the breakthrough happens.
Okay, I was going to share a story with you. You ended it with the perfect word, breakthrough happens.
Yes.
So I was going to share that one of the thoughts that I choose or the mantras that I've had in my business, because man, have I had webinars and events. It reminds me of going back to like, you're in like junior high and you have a birthday party and you're like, no one's going to show up. No one's going to show up, right?
Yes.
Okay. So then you grow up and that thought really doesn't go away. You put on these events and you're like, is anyone going to show up? Is anyone going to register? Well, obviously, in 10 years, you could have lots of those stories and experiences. And every time the way that I would pick myself back up is say, I'm being prepared for the breakthrough. Like it is my destiny. It is inevitable. I kept just saying it's inevitable, but I'm not prepared yet. Like I'm being prepared. And in your example, like it took, how much more amazing were you the 6th time you gave the same webinar, right?
Exactly. And that's it. We want to show up and do it the first time and we want it to be perfect without practice. We want it to be perfect, but that's not real. Perfection will kick your behind every single time. I am definitely one of the mascots of perfection. I'm like, I have had my behind kicked over and over again. But I love the mantra you have. It's a beautiful piece to just say, I'm being prepared. I'm being prepared. And if you're willing to be prepared for the biggest thing, I'm all in. But if I think the danger comes when we make this, it's this or nothing. Meaning, if I don't master this thing, then I can't do anything else. So if you're banking all of your eggs into this basket of, if this webinar doesn't work this one time, all things are going to crash. Now that's a problem. we can't function that way. That's a problem. You have to be willing. You have to work the muscle over and over again. It's training. Like we love to say, it's a marathon. You have to be willing to just go out. Let me show up today. How can I show up differently today? How can I stay in the game? One of the things that helped me as a CEO, and just as someone just saying, I want to be an entrepreneur, I didn't have a fallback plan. Meaning, I was like, okay, you've left your job. You know that you require a certain amount to be able to keep things where they need to be. I'm a mom with 6 kids, I have homeschool kids, my husband. So we had like a 2-family income. And when it went to 1, I was like, oh, I don't like this lifestyle. I think we need to get back in this game the right way. I didn't have that fallback plan. Sometimes I think people can get comfortable. Well, I know I have a stash of cash here and I'm just going to, I'm going to whine and cry about it because it didn't work and I'm going to go find another person. I'm like, nope, you're going to play this game all the way out.
Yeah.
I believe as a CEO, you have to know your strength. And if you see where your weaknesses are, which are not bad, it's your job to work on those areas. So you may have a coach that's working with you in sales, but you may need some other guidance for another area that may be a little weaker. So maybe it is mindset, and maybe you really do need to work through some things. Maybe there's some hidden things that you've not even recognized have happened in your life that you need to address because you're carrying all of that energy over into your business. There are a lot of entrepreneurs that are out here that are hurting. And we'll see this show up with, again, social media really reveals a lot of things about people. People are pouring their hearts out, but I'm like, you're hurting. You can't bring your pain to your business. It hurts. It doesn't work. So some people will say, use your pain as I'm like, no, you know what? You need to heal from that pain first. Then you can use it if that's your choice, but you can't bring raw pain to your business because it's going to stop you from moving forward.
I had heard someone tell me about you can teach from your scars, not your wounds. Meaning you have to be through it and over it and have a different, and have a different perspective on it. And you're right. I think that in the vein of being authentic and true and wanting to show up in social media, in my opinion, I think sometimes that is taken a bit far because it's not worked through. You're not on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
So yes, to your point, I agree with that for sure. I like to also teach. It sounds like you're also teaching from your own experiences. You're talking about a webinar that didn't work out. Well, I'm assuming that didn't happen yesterday, right? And so, we're all navigating things day to day in our businesses. But when we can have some, distance from it and perspective from it, there's often a lot of lessons that are very valuable to share with others. Yeah. When your clients come to work with you and they are not charging anywhere near what they believe they're worth or what they want to be charging, do you advise them to stair step into like a much higher, offering? Or do you say just go for it? Are you pull off the Band-Aid or find positive proof? I'm just interested in your strategy.
That's a great question. And it depends on the personality. So I really do assess who the client is and what I see that they can tolerate. So for some, I'm like, jump off the ship. For others, I'm like baby steps. And I say that because I know if I tell everyone to jump off the ship and just go straight to what they really want, they're going to destroy it on the path. I've seen it happen. Here's the price point that you've set. They come back, yes, I made a sale. It was so awesome. I'm like, great. So, what did you quote them? Well, I was going to quote them this. It starts with a story. And I'm like, okay, they couldn't hold space for that number. So I asked them when we come up with our numbers together, again, we're not just putting zeros there. What can you hold space for? What are you willing to hold space for? What number will you hold space for that you know for sure you're not going to backtrack and you're not going to backpedal on? Because the backpedaling happens. No matter what you say, it will happen. You get on the phone. If you can't honestly hold space for it, you're going to talk your way out of that number somehow. It's a special deal. It's a beta price point. It's a this, you're going to say something to make yourself feel comfortable and then make them feel comfortable with it. And so it depends on the personality, what you're currently dealing with. Some people will go fast. So there are two different tracks people work with me. Some people are just like my roller coaster riders. They're like, let's go. My other people, they need time to build up that confidence to be able to really quote what they want to quote. So I'll often tell them, okay, if we're stair stepping, you get up to 2 people at that rate, just 2. And they're like, that's it. Yep, that's it. So the third person, I'm like, all right, you need to take it up. What's the next step? And we go that way. Yeah. And it is not, one way is not better than the other. It's just, no one works. We know if you force something that is not a fit, it's not going to work.
Right. Yes.
It's not going to work. So when people are coaching, guiding, consulting and saying there's only one way, that's not true. There are multiple ways to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. So first declaring where it is you want to go, and then, unpacking what's in the way. And oftentimes it is the mindset, but also maybe coupled with some strategy of how would work best for you to get to where you want to go. In my business, I've shared this story a few times for you longtime listeners of Productivity Straight Talk, you know what I'm going to say. But I remember the first time I also left my corporate job, and I had this idea that I was going to help small business owners be more organized. And I remember locally working at that time. I wasn't, outside of Las Vegas. And I remember driving up to the client and sitting outside and wanting to throw up, thinking about how much I was going to ask them, to charge, right? Like physically sick. And I remember that because that sick doesn't go away every time that little voice goes, and I think you need to raise your prices. And then I laugh at her because that feeling is like, doesn't go away, but I've gotten better at dancing with it and still pushing through it, right? Because the sky didn't fall. I really didn't have clients ever look at me and say, you're not worth that. But the voice in your head, when you think I'm going to raise your price, says that person's going to look right at you and be like, that's not worth it.
Yeah.
And that's never happened. And so for me, I needed to use positive proof. And I also stair-stepped. I did it a little bit different. My goal was that I was on a wait list. So I would say I provide so much value and demand that my services, as soon as I get on a wait list, that means I increase my prices. And then my job would be clear the wait list, get it to a point where I was at capacity. And then I would say, well, this feels empowering because if they say no, I still have clients. I'm still working. Like, this is good. But as soon as I was over capacity, it would build that confidence into it. And so now I don't need to do that. I don't wait till I have a wait list, but that's 10 years later. But the tool that I used was looking at positive proof and feeling like falsely putting myself in. Falsely, I mean falsely in the sense that I don't think you need this to make this decision, okay? But for me at that time, what I needed was to be like, I'm good. I got a full book of business and they can say no and it doesn't ruin my world.
Right.
That was what I needed when I first started. So in any case, I also stair-stepped and I coupled it with 1, demand, but 2, saying, yeah, like I am going to show up my best. And as I'm growing and I'm providing more value, of course, I'm worthy of a different price point.
Yeah. And you chose to stair step, but you honored the steps. You honored you had an agreement with yourself. And once you got to that point, you said, okay, it's time to do the next thing. So it's even in the place of, if you've ever quoted someone and like you said, they're never going to be like, oh my God, that's horrible. When you quote someone and they're like, okay, yeah, let's go. And you're like, so I could have really said what I really want.
Right.
Well, I remember that used to happen. I'm like, why didn't you quote what you were supposed to quote? And you look at them and you're like, OMG, they didn't blink.
Yes. And you know what? There's people that say, let me think about it. Or that's not what I was expecting for the price point. And that's okay.
Yes.
But I just want to speak to people that might not be there yet, is that next thought for me is they weren't a right fit. And I am meant to work with a specific group of people. And it's not that it's a price point, but it's that they see the value in the work we're going to do together. Would you agree that there is oftentimes a higher level of commitment and like there's a different experience as you keep charging more and more with clients that they're all in because they did put dollars behind it, that maybe someone that was seeking a deal and wanted to negotiate you down, they are literally saying, I don't see your value from the beginning.
Yes, I love it. And it sounds however it sounds, but I love to say we attract higher quality clients that are fully committed. They follow through. And I always tell my clients, you want a high quality client that's going to get the result that you promise. And because they're more committed to what you say you're going to do with or for them, you're going to follow through. They're going to follow through because it's an investment.
Yeah.
It's not something that's easily for them to say, oh, you know what? I'm just not going to show up to this anymore because I'm tired. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm bored. A lot of people are concerned with, they may have long-term mastermind groups or inner circles. And you typically will not see people falling off of those in the higher tier version of them because they've invested. They're like, oh, I need to get a return on my investment. I am showing up every single time. But your lower tier groups or your lower price groups, those groups, if they're too long, people will fall off. They get bored, they get distracted, shiny objects. There's the next group. It's only $500. I'm not missing it.
Yeah. And maybe then they also don't get the transformation they were meant to get. So they got $500 worth of transformation in 3 months and then they're out. And you're thinking as the person that wanted to help change their world and their life, you're like, but I had so much more to offer.
Right.
And I had so much more value that I could give you. And the client, whether they think it, consciously or unconsciously, they're like, I got it out of it what I wanted. And that was them selling themselves short, that they only needed, that was in your example, $500 of value.
Another thing is when we're looking at, and if it's a group versus if it's an individual, when you have a higher price point for that person is looking for, you said the word experience. Experience is one of the touch points. I have 7 Lux touch points that I teach people, but experience is one of them. They want to feel like they are valued as a client. They don't want to have to fight for your attention. So even if you have a group, we tend to have smaller, more exclusive groups. They're not having to wait on like a call with 30, 40, 50 people and hope their question gets answered. Everyone's being catered to. They know they have access. They're paying to have access to you, to your knowledge base, to your inner circle. They want that. And so the investment is different. They value it. Remember, the word is value. They value it, and you're creating an entire experience for them. So that experience starts from when you're talking to them on the phone to the point that you're onboarding them. And then throughout the time they're working with you, and when you're ending the work with them, it should feel like an entire experience that was worth their time and their investment.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about, let's just say you're an attorney or an interior designer. Like if you increase your prices or give yourself permission to increase your prices, so now you have to work with a lower quantity of clients, how could you up-level that experience? And would you love your business more working with fewer clients? So that's less like administrative back and forth. Maybe you even have a leaner team, but you were able to just blow their socks off with the experience and the delivery. Is that, that we're technically talking about business strategy. Like, what do you want your business model to look like? Is it fewer, higher level, leaner team? Or are you looking at kind of, what's funny is I'm thinking about this, and even when you have a lower price and say you had 50 people in a program or you had 50 clients and you could have had 10, man, that not only are you not as profitable because it's a lower ticket price, but you usually have a lot of bloat on your team. That takes a lot of support, a lot of hand holding, a lot of back end administrative. Yeah. So that's a really good reason to also consider pivoting and having a higher price offer, is that ultimately it's more profitable because your operations are lower.
And it's something that you have to think about as a CEO, the financial part of it, because you're right. Your expenses are going to be bloated. If you have to have, and this is why you have to be careful what you're looking at online. Someone may have had $1 million year. They may have thousands literally of people in a membership program or something of that nature. You need a team that's tracking those monthly payments, that's going after failed payments. You need a team that's just doing customer service. You have to make sure the content's constantly being put in place. If you're hosting an event, you need a bigger venue. And then the overhead for that venue becomes a monster. There's so much that goes into it. I love the concept of a lean team, because the goal of having a business is to be profitable. If you're constantly saying, I'm making this much, but we have nothing left, there's something that's out of alignment. You have to do something different. You have to keep growing this monster and feeding the monster over and over and over again. So I'm very good with talking to people. They're like, well, you don't have a huge team. I don't need a huge team. The way I built this boutique business, just because it's boutique doesn't mean that it can't be $1 million business.
Right.
You can have a boutique business that blows your mind.
And let's just talk about how much and more enjoyable your business is. So if you're the CEO of a technically leaner team, smaller team, we're going to put quotes around that, but you're more profitable than, say, a colleague that has a different price point, different business model, man, like the freedom that comes with that.
Absolutely.
We are the decision maker. As much as we want to delegate, the more people you have on your team, the more you're in meetings, the more that you're making decisions, the more that if you have an idea, it takes much longer to execute on. Like, there's a lot of considerations that if we can break through the mindset, we can see the value of, up-leveling our pricing. It's actually a business model decision. Therefore, it's a different experience you have in your business.
It's a totally different experience. And then I like to put the caveat there for everyone. It's not for everyone. Some people need the bigger volume-based business, and that's fine. It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's down to becoming a choice. It depends on what's the lifestyle that you desire long-term. What do you want your business to look like 5 years, 10 years from now? And if you look at what you're doing now, is it something that's sustainable, or will you burn yourself out in the end?
Right.
My goal is to, when I do everything that I want to do, whether I'm selling my business or if I'm passing my business down to my child, I don't want anyone to look at my business and say, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I realize I have 6 kids, 6 homeschool kids, 3 of which graduated, but 3 that are still being homeschooled. When they look at me running my business, they don't want to see their mom burned out saying, oh, the business is wearing me out. It's so much work. They have no desire to be an entrepreneur if that's what they're seeing. I want to give them a good example of this is what life could look like for you. And each person has an opportunity, but we sure don't want it to look crazy for you. So you also, the other thing is, as CEOs, we sometimes fail to take care of ourselves. If you're working constantly, you're burning out constantly, you're stressed out, we see more health issues happening with entrepreneurs because you are the team, or you have a team, and there's so much pressure and so much stress. There are diseases that we're getting more than people that are working in corporate because of stress. Stress is the root of a lot of these causes of diseases. I don't want stress. I'm like, I don't have time. Been there, done that. No one's trying to do it anymore.
What a great inspiration. Our kids watch and see everything. So it's not going to be you saying, hey, I just love being a business owner. No, they're going to see, is mom stressed out? Is she working around the clock? Does she feel more frustrated than she feels joy from the business? Will be what gets imprinted on their hearts when they make a decision about what they're going to do out in the world.
Absolutely.
You said something about stress and disease. And I think we can just really, it's full circle. In my experience, if your body is physically challenged with stress and illness and disease, it is a harder fight to keep your mindset strong.
You can't function. You can't function. You can't be productive. You can't run the whole business if you're not completely there.
Yeah. So just making decisions that also affect your stress level and your physical, it's like it's a positive feedback loop to say, and you'll be positioning yourself in a very much stronger position to keep a strong mindset and to push forward and get courageous with trying new things because you're showing up your best.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And your clients, the truth is, they deserve the best version of you. If you're showing up, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're frustrated, you can't even focus on the sessions you're having with them because you're worried about the next email or whatever is coming through. Your relationship's just going haywire because you're not available. It's a time to pause and figure out, what can I do different?
And when you show up different, my guess is you have more confidence, you're providing a higher level of value, and then you can charge more. Ta-da, it's all together, right? Like if you're in your, like I was just listening to you, like if you're in your head and you're preoccupied and you're not showing up your best, then you leave with doubt. You leave feeling defeated and being like, I hope they didn't notice. How is that going to help you walk into the next sales conversation, proposal, discovery call? It's not. It's not
at all. It'll be all over. You can't hide it.
Yeah.
And we've all seen people before where we're like, ooh, they're having a hard day, huh? Like, I hope it gets better. Goodness gracious.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, we were able to pull so many strings together and full circle from, me really wanting to talk to you about the CEO mindset. We're able to pull together that if that's not right, it can sabotage any great strategy, sales strategy, business model strategy. And, what I wasn't expecting was us talking about how valuable making a decision of up-leveling your business has such an impact on how we experience our business. And so that's a great conversation. And I want to say thank you so much.
Yes.
I believe you have something special for our audience. And so I'd love for you to share a little bit about that and how my listeners can definitely get their hands on that.
Absolutely. So we have been talking about the CEO mindset and up-leveling. So one of the things I'm really good at doing is teaching you how to up-level your business. We call it how you can Luxe Your Business. So one of the things you might need to figure out is, what area of the business do I need to focus on so that I can up-level? And we have a new quiz out. It's called What's Your Lux Factor? And you can take that quiz very quick and determine what area of your business you need to focus on. And you may be surprised with the answers that you get. Do you want me to give them the
Yeah, go ahead and give them the URL. And then we'll definitely be linking it out into all the show notes and
Absolutely.
Well.
So they can go to ShaylaBoyd-Gill.com/quiz. When you go in there, just take the quiz, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much for letting them take a next action step. So they were able to hear a great conversation. But if you want to know where to focus next in your business on moving it forward to leveling it up and luxing your business. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
There you go. Luxing your business. Go take Shayla's quiz. Thank you so much for being a guest and providing value for my audience. It was great chatting with you today.
Great chatting with you too.
I have loved having you listen to this episode of Productivity Straight Talk. And I sure hope you found today's conversation about leveling up with strategy and mindset around your price point and your positioning in the marketplace to be incredibly valuable. In today's episode, we chatted about being able to do very specific decisions like, today I'm charging X more. And maybe that's where you're at. Or perhaps you're in a place where you thought, oh, I like the idea of making little slight pivots and incremental changes in your pricing and packaging. Whatever your takeaway was from today, I hope you are feeling empowered to charge your value, to charge what you're worth, and that you can see that in your business, by making strategic business decisions, how it will ultimately affect your stress level. It will affect how much workload you have. It will affect how much time you are investing in leading a team, whether you decide to have a very robust team or a lean team, because you need less support to service fewer clients. And I think it's worth also mentioning that perhaps you have the perfect team size, and perhaps you're already working with the perfect type of clients for you. But when you really dive into your numbers and understand your numbers, there is an opportunity for increasing your pricing to increase your profitability. So oftentimes we make decisions based on our gross revenue or our dollar amount that we charge our clients. And that sounds good, but that's only half the equation. And so maybe your first step from today's episode is really diving in to see how profitable your business is at your current pricing model so that you have the data and information to make a different decision, whether that's a drastic change in pricing or that you're stair-stepping into a different price point over time. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So with that being said, what is the next best thing for you to take action on based on today's conversation? I hope you're super clear about that before you pull up into the office, drop the kids off at school, start your day, or get off that treadmill. Just one next clear action steps on how you can implement the strategies that you heard today into your business. And as a reminder, if you're looking for additional support and you're ready to go deeper on your journey with improving your productivity and maximizing your time, I would love for you to check out my Leverage Lab program, coaching, training, and accountability. You can learn more and join us by heading on over to amberdelagarza.com/Leverage Lab. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.